Hello and welcome to the Tech Glow Up live from AWE 2026. It's day 3. Our voices are tired, but energy is still high. I am here with Poz Long, Director of Creative Technology for Sports Media and Entertainment at Salesforce.
You got it.
Amazing. Not only a boss title, but one that makes me have so many questions. First, welcome.
Thank you.
Can you tell me, what does a creative technologist working in sports media and entertainment at Salesforce, arguably a technology not many people think of terribly creatively, tell me what it's like doing creative technology in a very large and omnipresent company?
Yeah, thank you. I love that question because I think, it's not what people immediately think, and my job is to prove you wrong. So my job is to help people understand our products through experiences. As you may have heard, some of our products are a little bit tough to understand, or they're a little bit abstract. And I think the best way to create that understanding and those strong relationships that are positive is through experiences that move people and that are useful for people and that help them to achieve something. So that is my goal. My background in XR is across Meta and Apple, and something I'm really proud of is a VR synoptophore that I created for pediatrics. So that's sort of the
Can
me
you
story.
describe a synoptophore to me? It's a new term.
Yes, a synoptophore, if you've been to the eye doctor, is typically a very heavy old machine, and there's actually one person in Tennessee that can fix this old machine. Which creates a lot of bottlenecks for the folks that need to do these measurements when the eye is out of alignment, and it's actually pretty common. And so when children go to get these things measured, it's kind of not fun. And our goal was to, one, figure out if it was possible to use eye tracking to measure this, and it is clinically possible to do this to the level of fidelity we need. But also it's a lot more fun than staring into an old machine that may or may not be working all the time. So it was a great project and super fun, and I learned a ton.
Amazing. I wasn't expecting we were going to get a health tech for kids angle in the mix as well. Love it. How do you become a creative technology at a company so giant like Salesforce? What's the origin story and the pieces that came together to get you to where you are today?
That is such a good question. And it's looking back, it looks like I did it on purpose, but it certainly wasn't intentional.
Claim it.
Yeah.
Claim it.
I think this actually leads, there's a whole hot take around this. So my background, I actually have a theater degree. I went to school, I studied theater. I did that because I love storytelling, and I really did not want to commit to one thing. The idea of becoming a doctor or a lawyer, my parents really wanted a lawyer or a doctor. I was probably trending lawyer. I just didn't want to do one thing, and that felt really difficult to have to be stuck doing one thing. But if you do theater, you are doing something new all the time, and you are constantly learning. And my personality is very suited to that. So I studied theater, graduated, and immediately realized that I didn't have the confidence to sell my own art. But I did have reality TV. It happened that in New York at the time, that was the thing. And so there were plenty of opportunities to do post-production. So I did that for some time. I ended up doing a cooking show called America's Test Kitchen, and then moved to the Bay Area because I liked the weather. Was making music videos with a band that went through there, and I thought, why not? And moved, and then realized there was no film and television industry in the Bay Area.
No.
And landed in tech. And so there was no plan. I wish I could say that there was, but honestly, I think following what makes sense at the moment is a pretty good strategy ultimately.
As somebody that went to college on a scholarship for theater, I relate a lot to the story. And the thing that you mentioned, one, it is a very technology creative field, right? And often, regardless of your role in a theater, you're playing many roles, you're doing many things. And so you're building a set one day, you're rehearsing lines one day, you're front of house selling tickets the other day. And so you get a full sort of engaged perspective in how things work and come together. And I feel like that is also what a creative technologist has to do. You have to understand the business, you have to understand the clients, and otherwise. I'm so curious, you sort of tease these experiences that help to tell the story or bring people in to the complex ecosystem at Salesforce. Can you give me some examples or sort of talk through a project that would sort of help paint that picture a little bit more?
Yeah, totally. That was the glow up I have for you.
Amazing.
My glow up, my goal, and why I'm here at AWE
Yes.
is to start to bring more spatial into the activations that we're doing.
Love it. Yeah.
Previously in the year, I had the great pleasure of working with MrBeast on a Super Bowl activation.
Just one of those.
Just like you do. And we used a large-scale puzzle game that was launched at the Super Bowl and took place over 27 days. Took 27 days to solve this puzzle using a Slackbot that we created just for this. And it was our way of introducing the Slackbot and getting some people who had never used an LLM before to try it and use it for a purpose that actually solved a problem for them. And that was amazing.
Yeah.
And I had some ideas about how this could have had like a spatial layer. Like, could there have been some Pokemon Go element of hunting around? We had 6 weeks to do it in, and so we haven't achieved that yet. But I do think there is a lot of potential. And I think really what I'm looking for here is understanding the hardware, understanding what's possible, and then for the customer, whoever it is that we end up partnering with, it really has to be the right audience. They have to be wanting to try this thing with this hardware so that it's like a natural fit and it helps our products show up in just the right way.
Yeah.
There's a ton of opportunity, but it just has to be the right fit. And so that's kind of what I'm here for.
That like equation of like right customer, right experience, right technology that enables it is like pretty magic when it happens. Oftentimes we hope that if we have like one or two of those legs, that stool's gonna still stand up. How, especially when we're thinking about like cutting edge technologies that people might not have experienced yet, and we're like trying to think about big magical experiences, how do you help guide and coach organizations like Salesforce or the partners that you're working with, right? Like working with a MrBeast, like it's not just getting your team on board, but like also making sure MrBeast feels good about, what's your approach for bringing people on board with spatial ideas and interactions that also like tick those like 3 requirements that you called down?
Yeah, that's a great question because it's different every time, and I think
I want to know.
I've right, don't we all? Like, what are the magic words I can say to my partner to make them want to do this? And I don't think there's one set. Like, it really depends on what that person is thinking about and what's keeping them up at night and what is most important to them right now. And I don't know if you've noticed, but things have accelerated, and that thing can be a moving target. And it's really just about listening to them and meeting with them and understanding, kind of where their biggest kind of fears lie in the space, so like what they see as the biggest thing to tick off their list for their customer. And that differs for every single partner, and they all have a different culture and way of seeing the world and way of processing things. I wouldn't say there's a clean answer that will neatly fit to any enterprise, but if you're someone who's willing to sit down and listen and really talk things through, and not let them like kind of nod along, which I think very often people, they want you to have a good experience in that meeting, and there's this like human nature thing where they kind of want to give you what you want to hear, but it's like, no, but really, what do your customers care about? What are they going to love? What's going to make them go, holy moly, like I have to use this thing? Yeah. And until you have the answer to that and you're sure, like it's probably not the right time.
So if it were only that easy that you could ask those stakeholders and partners, what do you actually need, right? What do you actually want?
Yeah.
Because like sometimes we don't know and we can't express it. So do you have tools or approaches you like to use to learn like the difference between what a customer is saying and the need that they're expressing underlying? Like, how do you decipher that? What questions do you ask, or do you have frameworks on how you approach that discovery?
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about structured frameworks, but I do have some tricks. I do. I find very often people will kind of give you a very vague answer or a high level answer, and you want to see what's under that. I ask them what they're currently doing. Like, what have you tried? What's working for you now? What is actually not working for you now? I noticed this research item. I found this out. Is this actually true, or would you say that's not true for you? And like, give them things to react to. It's kind of the same as working in like a theatrical environment or a film environment. Like, what does this director need to make a decision? What does this decision maker need to make a decision? What do they care about? And what do they care about that they're not telling me? And like, how can I draw that out of them? And build trust, really. Like, ultimately, they need to know you're on their side and not just trying to get your next promo or whatever.
I often have worn like product marketing roles, and often when I engage with like developers, almost immediately the assumption is that marketing is there to put a spin on something. And when I show up asking like, what do the users use? Or like, this is what I'm hearing from our clients. Like it's such an amazing way to like flip the script and get them to like pay attention, because it's like, wait, no, I care about the customers. Maybe like I'm gonna argue with you about who cares about the customer more, because like in many times, right, being on the front of those stories and interactions, like you hear it, you learn it. So I'm gonna keep pushing on this one question. My brain is obsessed with like, how do you do spatial for like data, for context, for financial? Like how do those things come together? And I've often joked that like, there are some things that are good for VR, and there's some like tasks that are horrible for it. And specifically, like doing financial data, anything, feels just incredibly hard with like controllers and hand gestures and like keyboards that don't have keys. So I'm curious, like, how do you approach like spatial concepts and high data concepts in the types of experiences and stories that you're trying to tell?
That's such an interesting question, because that sounds terrible, what you just described. I wouldn't want to participate in that.
Like I don't like using my TV remote to enter passwords, let alone in a headset.
Yeah, and that's the first check. Like, would I want to do this thing? Absolutely not. Like, I would not approach that. However, like for MrBeast as an example, we created this Slackbot that was intended to help solve the puzzle.
Yeah.
We then created the hardest puzzle that you could possibly imagine using a team
Which is a great, like I'm already interested.
Yes,
right?
Lone Shark Games designed the most incredibly difficult puzzle you could imagine. And in order to solve it, you needed the Slackbot. So then it was just like a natural use case that you were like, oh, thank God I have this thing and I can ask it stuff. And that was ultimately how Colin Sanders, who was the winner, was able to solve the puzzle. And I think it must be a natural fit for the thing that your audience wants. I'm sure there are many ways to use data that are actually a natural fit, but like what you described of like the inputs not working, I think I have some thoughts around hardware in general. I've seen a lot of really cool stuff here. There's this thing by Mudra where you can kind of use your hand naturally with your glasses. But there's like, they're kind of all separated from each other. There is nothing that now lives all in the package that does everything I want. There's a ring, and there's a platform, RP1, and everyone's kind of building in these different areas, and it's kind of converging into one unified ecosystem, but I don't think we're there yet. And I think it's actually the use cases that start to drive that. And what I think is really interesting about right now is that now with Cloud, anyone can build anything. And it gives access to people to come with their very niche, unique problem that no one else is really thinking about, and quickly prototype something, and then take that and show it to the hardware maker and say like, hey, I have this use case, like, can you help build with me? And I think that does a lot to push us forward.
Ooh.
The question you're asking is like, does it have to be these boring things? I actually have some thoughts on boring. I think boring problems are actually the move. Our tendency, we need to look for the boring problems. We go to the flashy, beautiful walkabout mini golf. I love you guys. Like, it's the best face in the world, and it's so cool, but it's not for everybody. And what I hear all the time is, well, I'm not a gamer. I'm not putting that on. Like, I'm not a gamer.
I don't like to walk about
that identity.
in VR. That's my thing.
I will die for walkabout.
But gorgeous. The amount of community that happens in that space is like, it's way more than a game.
However, it's not for everyone, and what is for everyone is different. And I think when you tackle the boring problems, I'm on my way home and the Target's right there and I need shoes for my kids, and it knows that, and so it tells me that I stop because there's a sale there. And there's that reminder for that school event, and these are all related to my kids, but like all the stuff, all the boring stuff.
These are very personal user stories.
Yeah, like if someone could wave a magic wand and make that stuff easy for me, I would get first in line. And I think there's a lot of other people out there that feel that way too. And so it doesn't have to be the most beautiful thing. It doesn't have to be the shiniest, coolest thing. just do something useful, and that will solve, for a lot of the resistance.
Yeah, I'm gonna let that one cook. That's gorgeous. We're here at AWE. This is the Tech Glow Up. I like to ask about the transitions, the transformations, the rebirth, the glow up that you think the industry needs to make. And I think in this like very enterprise kind of conversation, there's a lot of conversation, right? Like in tech that like enterprise is the main client. This is everybody's business model. But I want to hear it the other way around. What does the industry need to do to glow up to meet enterprise needs and to be a better partner to enterprise in the next 6 to 12 months?
Dang. Yeah, now I want to ask for the magic word to say to my leadership to make them unlock the budget and have the money fall from the sky. But I do think that like the storytelling is really useful. I've experienced a bunch of demos, and they're all over the map as far as like all the different things that can be done. But the more awareness I think the peripherals have of the waveguide makers, of the spatial audio folks, like the way that they can connect the through line, because they're separate companies now and it's not a complete ecosystem, the more they're talking about each other and have an awareness of like the whole picture and can package that up for us, it will give me less work to do to then package it up for my leadership. But also like the better we'll be able to understand our use cases and plug them in there, because companies want to innovate. Like we do not want to be left behind. We do not want to be thought of as dinosaur or enterprise companies. We want to be thought of as the agentic enterprise, and we are building it as fast as we can. And the things that help us do that are demonstrating that to our customers. So
I love that you
make
said
it easy.
I love that you said demonstrating. I love this point, and like, please make it easier for your customers to do business with you. They want to. So like, learn what it takes to be supportive to an enterprise and like get together on it. When you're talking about this agent, the thing that I loved was that you showed the value of agentic support without telling anybody that they were going to have an agent there with them all the time, helping them on their way. It was just part of the experience and the puzzle that you put in front of them. It's part of the story.
Right.
And instead of the story being, we built a technology that will change something that you're already doing, to like, look, this thing was helpful when you wanted it. Love that. When I talk with healthcare leaders about AI, this is total side quest. One of the things that I heard frequently is if an agent can be helpful with a task it was intended to do, you will build trust and you will start to get questions about the other pressing problems in that person's life. And I don't know if this agent was able to, but I'm curious, did you notice or do you have data where people started to trust the advice of the puzzle agent and started asking other questions in the channel?
That's really interesting. The only like official story I have is Colin's, because we recorded it.
Yeah.
But he did say he noticed some things in the commercial. There were clues hidden everywhere. I didn't even know where they were.
Yeah.
And he noticed some things, and then he went to the Slackbot and he kind of plugged them in. And the way that it worked was there was conversational side, and then there was this thing called a puzzle card, which sort of mirrored the canvas that we have in Slack that you use Slack. Just a document.
Love it. Oh my gosh.
And he would then like populate his puzzle cards with the things that he was finding, and it helped him sort out and manage that. Lots of different ideas all over the place. Really difficult to put together into one overarching thing. Summaries are what AI is like best at. It really, like if it takes your stuff, you can reliably expect it to manage that in a way that makes sense. And so I think, that was a really obvious, useful use case for him.
The sort of knock-on effect of, using the chatbot and like, oh, I need a place to put these answers. How can I start to visual? Oh, well, there's this canvas that's also here, right? So love it. Keeping on the glow up theme, let's turn it inward a little bit to the work that you're doing. What's the 6-month glow up goals that you have for working and building more immersive experiences in the stories that you're telling?
Yeah. I have so many ideas.
Don't we all?
It's really, it is just about finding the right fit. I think we have a number of great partners. We just signed with FIFA, pretty exciting. F1 is one of our historical partners, and like all of those are very nuanced. I have a few prototypes that I've talked through. The Rayneos, have you tried those ones? I got the latest device at CES this year.
Amazing.
Kind of looking through how to do storytelling in spaces. I won't go too deep into that one because it's not totally baked. But yeah, like I think it's really just like, for me, the partner that is most curious about this space, and then the conversation that I could have to help them understand the utility. One thing that has been kind of, I think, an unblock for us at Salesforce is Headless 360, which if you are not following SaaS Twitter, SaaS X, you may not have noticed. The Headless 360 is essentially all of your Salesforce organization, previously accessible, sometimes only through UI, that is no longer. Now you are able to use that as a backend on any form factor. So that means the glasses can now talk to my Salesforce organization and maybe even say, oh, that customer in front of you right here at AWE, like here's the data that you have on them. Here's the last conversation you had with them. Here's a next step you could pursue right this instant. And I don't know, like, well, why do we
I have
build
an
that?
introduction for you on that specific topic. So cool. And also, if you remove the flat spreadsheet-based UI from the financial and like customer documents that I'm used to using in Salesforce tools, then using that data in space becomes a lot easier.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because like my complaint was, you're asking me to fill a flat 2D thing in a 3D space where I don't have the same tools. And what you're talking about is I'm going to give you your data so that like the UI isn't a limit.
Right. I mean, no humans are not talking to us anymore. Like, no one's doing all that. Like we're sending the robot to do that stuff.
Yeah.
And so we want to make it easy to send the robot to do the stuff. And then now the only limit is like, what can you think of to do with your stuff?
I love it. Kind of in the same way that Snaps like made a really organized GitHub, like you're organizing so that your agents can. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you kind of got spicy earlier, but I'm curious at this point in time, do you have a hot take to share about AI, tech, culture in general, your choice?
Yeah. So we did touch on this. My hot take is career goals are stupid. And hear me out.
No, I'm already on board.
I think they're dumb. I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to achieve some career identity. And, identity is like a whole hot mess to begin with. And then on top of it, we have to have this title. And there's these specific titles that maybe we're aiming for. And every time that I have been successful, it has been because I find some fascination with something. And VR in 2016, someone gave me a Gear VR and with the dinosaurs, remember that? And I was just like, oh my God, like this changes everything. I have to do this now. And I couldn't stop. And I think just by pursuing things that you're really excited about, that you're really passionate about, that solve a problem for you, you will very often find a person that also finds value in that, or a company. And amassing more and more of those, then there is a summary, and that is then your title. So it's not that you should pursue some job description. It's more that you should do the job and do the things that are really important to you and stay close to that and learning. And then whatever title you get is just a summary of all those things that are actually you.
I'm loving this so much. I'm internally screaming because I have to like sit on my hands and make space for that answer. I teach graduate students at the University of Oregon, and like, what is a job? How am I supposed to do this? Oh my God, I'm supposed to be perfect out of the box is like one of the most common things I hear forever. And with the like perspective and experience and time that I have, I've found I'm way less interested in the titles and names that I put on what I do. And like the people, the problems, the way we go about trying to fill our days with work means a whole lot more to me. So that's probably going to be the advice that I keep repeating to other people when they ask me how my day's been this week. So thank you.
Yeah.
Poz, your expertise and perspective really resonates for me. And I'm sure other folks out there trying to do meaningful work that matters to customers and showcases, right, the cool shit, the cool technology and tools that we're building. Thank you for joining me to talk about the cool work you're doing at innovation at the highest levels. I can't wait to check in on what your next glow up's gonna be and your next big collab. So.
It has been my absolute pleasure, Nathan. This was such a great conversation. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, thanks for joining me on the Tech Glow Up.